Unfortunately, too many are left with no success in getting an appointment. That's left many Americans losing thousands and thousands of their hard-earned dollars as they're forced to rebook and even outright cancel their travel arrangements. So I'm going to give you some good stories and some ones where we didn't get the outcome we wanted. First, Cheryl Levy, who was with us today, reached out to us on June 22nd after applying for a passport in March to get ready for a 10th wedding anniversary trip in July to Mexico with her husband Mark. When she got in touch with us, they had 2 weeks left before their trip, and their passports still hadn't shown up. Through the work of our office with the National Passport Center, the good news is we were able to get her passport the day before departure. Cheryl was thrilled, and to say the least, and even sent us a selfie, smiling with her passport when it arrived. So Cheryl, I'd love you to just take a second and talk to us about what you dealt with. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Good morning. My name is Cheryl Levy. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak here today regarding my passport experience. In mid-March, I sent away to renew my passport for an upcoming trip in August of 2021. I ordered it and paid for an expedited processing, even though it was expiring in 8 months. Mid-May, my husband and I decided to take a trip to celebrate our 10th anniversary in July. As we all know, life has been different and challenging and the new normal, and we wanted the chance to celebrate something. Around June 14th, my husband said, "You need to find out where your passport is." I said, "No problem. I paid for expedited service." The joke was really on me. I started to call the passport agency and was put on hold for hours. I finally reached someone who gave me an account number to follow the process online. All it showed was my passport was received and no further information. I started to panic and challenged my mother and contacted every New Jersey government official I could in hopes of receiving assistance. Congressman Gottheimer's office, specifically Mike, answered the phone. The first thing I said to him was thank you for actually answering my call. After 6 days of tremendous aggravation and the fear of the unknown, my passport arrived. 24 hours, literally, before my trip. Thank you to Mike and for all your hard work, and to Congressman Gottheimer. Although this may seem trivial to some, the stress of waiting of the unknown was overwhelming, and during the time we should have been celebrating our anniversary. Thank you so much.
Sure. Can you spell your name for us? What part of the country?
Sure. CHERYLLEVY, and I live in New Milford, New Jersey. Thank you.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
For others, especially in dire life or death circumstances, timing can be down to the wire. One North Jersey resident was trying to travel abroad to see a dying grandparent, but passport agents wouldn't rush the application, even though they had applied months earlier. After an hour on the phone with the National Passport Center, our team was able to get the resident an emergency appointment and a passport, a successful outcome that shouldn't have taken so long in the first place. Unfortunately, because of these backlogs, not everyone is able to get a passport in time from the National Passport Center. Despite all the harangue from our office, all the calls, their calls, the many calls that are made, the letters written, anything we try, sometimes right now the National Passport Center just isn't turning it around. One case of failure of the National Passport Center is, and a couple is here with me today, Dr. Sanjeev Patel and Dr. Christine Gorilla, cardiologists, both cardiologists from Upper Saddle River. So if you have any problems, they're here for us. They had a family trip to Aruba scheduled for July 8th. 2 months earlier in May, they reported their daughter's passport is missing and went to the local library to apply for a new one in person. Again, that's the normal procedure in normal times. Then after nearly 2 months of waiting and calling daily for updates, staying on hold for 5 to 6 hours each time, they were finally told the form from the library had not been filled in correctly. They even drove to the Stamford, Connecticut passport facility, waited in line, but were turned away. Ultimately, the family had to cancel their trip, unfortunately, and incurred travel charges they couldn't avoid. Now, let me just say something. This is an issue we hear about a lot. People send in the passport, they fill out the forms, and there's one box that's not checked off properly, or something that's filled out, and they didn't realize you had to fill it out in a different space. They don't actually get back to you and tell you in time, so you can't actually fix the problem, and it's the same issue, and then you, of course, find out at the last minute, well, I'm sorry you didn't get your passport, but there was a box that wasn't checked. It's absurd, and I want to hear a little bit from this couple about what they went through, what they dealt with, why they couldn't get to Aruba because of the National Passport Center. So the two doctors, Dr. Patel and Dr. Gula, can come up, that would be terrific. Thanks.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you very much for everything. Thanks, Dr.
Good morning. Thank you all for your time, and thank you, Congressman, for bringing light to this situation. Again, as he stated, we actually came in person, applied, and had filled in the paper properly, and after countless hours of being told to just look up on the website and see the update, checking on the website after 5-6 weeks, there was no information, there was no in process. At that point, I got on the national phone number and called the National Passport Agency, which itself is a predicament because at times it would take you 50, 60, 80, or 100 times of redialing to try to actually get through to then be put on hold for 2 to 3 hours. I was told at that point they researched and they found that my passport application had gone to Philadelphia and was in a bin unopened after 6 weeks. So at that point they were hoping to start the process of the passport application.
6 weeks.
6 weeks. It was in a bin in Philadelphia. I waited another week or two. I saw the website says in process, in process. I tried again countlessly to get back online, on hold for 2 to 3 hours, answering emails, trying to work while I'm on hold. And I'm told now, 10 days before my trip, I'm told, if they canceled your check here, then it's likely that you'll get your passport on time. Driving home that day, I'm feeling hopeful that I'm going to have a passport when I get home. I drive home, I open my mailbox, I have my daughter's blank application with her photographical letter telling me that because of an error on their part, on the agency's part, they had to resubmit my entire application. Not my fault, right? And so at this point, we tried the online service to try to get the appointment, which really seemed like playing a video game, trying to refresh and get an appointment. We decided to reschedule patient care. We canceled the patient appointments and drove up early morning to Stamford, Connecticut. And we sat there on the sidewalk with other people, then told at 8 a.m. when the Homeland Security came out to say, there are no walk-ins. You have to have an appointment. And then they told you, just log on the website and keep trying to press refresh. And it felt like this was surreal that American citizens had to sit on a sidewalk trying to press refresh to try to get an appointment time with just a passport. And we sat there and we listened to other people's stories. Again, the same thing. Ill family members, pressing financial issues, needed to travel abroad, and being told the same thing. No appointments, no walk-ins, you must have an online appointment. And we sat there for countless hours, for about 4 or 5 hours, like children playing refresh on a cell phone, and left empty-handed. So, we were grateful that the Congressman's office was actually the first time I had hope that maybe there was some potential. But unfortunately, the timeline was too narrow to try to turn around a whole application from the beginning in such a short window. So, fortunately for us, it was just a vacation and not something more pressing or more dire. But again, I'd like to thank you all for your attention and your time and for your questions.
Can we get your names also?
Sure. First name's Christine, Christine. Last name Gerula, Gerula.
Glad you spelled it.
Yeah, right. And Sanjeev, Sanjeev, and the last name is Patel. P-A-T.
Patel's easy.
Patel's
Yeah.
easy.
Patel's easy. And where are
Too
you
many
from?
Dr. Patels.
So we're from Upper Saddle River, New Jersey.
Thank you, folks.
And I just want to say one thing, so just on a personal note, I've learned that the congressman works for us. I was shocked that for my daughter's vacation, I was able to get their office, be the first one to answer the phone call and to help us. So yes, the system works. I wish, and as Christine said, we were in line in Connecticut. We got there at 6 a.m. I think we were the third people in line in Connecticut. And I said, this is going to work out well. And there was a line behind us. But the stories of hardship, financial hardship, legal issues, family members, it's overwhelming that they had no recourse. And we were all on the side of the sidewalk just trying to refresh so that one of us can get an appointment to get this process going. So I'm glad this is coming out to the forefront, and I'm hoping good will come out of this. It'll be one less American citizens if we can figure this system out. But I actually want to thank the system for working on our behalf. Thank you.
They're rightly, everyone here is rightly frustrated. And the bottom line is, we got to do something about it. That's what I want to talk about today. You know, again, as a reminder, families used to be able to utilize regional passport facilities for walk-in appointments, and now post offices like this one, they used to be able to go to, also to renew an old passport, expedite a new one for an extra fee, but we know there's a massive delay. So even as our nation rebounds, passport agents at our regional facilities are informing residents, like you just heard about, that the same-day system that normally works isn't working. They're calling hotlines, they're not getting through. They're spending 4 to 6 hours on hold, where the whole time was just used to be a few minutes. They're spending hours each day refreshing the online passport website, as you heard, hoping that in-person appointment will become available. Life and death emergencies should be prioritized, but right now, everybody, unfortunately, is stuck. You know, and New Jersey residents reported they even paid extra to have their passports expedited, and they're not being processed in a timely manner. Families aren't able to leave voicemails and get responses despite the National Passport Center offering these contacts. These procedures and delays are outrageous and unacceptable. That's why I'm formally requesting that the Bureau today, and I want to be clear about this, today we're doing a couple things. One, we're formally requesting that the Bureau of Consular Affairs within the State Department take urgent measures to immediately reduce the backlog. The Bureau must do everything possible to expand in-person renewals and achieve full in-person staffing at passport processing centers, as well as expedite surge staffing to help reduce the backlog as soon as humanly possible. I know that we'll all be living in the wake of the pandemic, but there's no reason we can't reassign folks in government to fix this problem. Second, I'm also encouraging the State Department to expand passport acceptance fairs, address additional delays in the process, such as with the United States postal shipping, and to please work with Congress to make additional improvements when they seem needed. Working together, I believe we can address this challenge quickly and measurably, not only for the families and businesses in my district, but for businesses nationwide. A few reminders. Let's call it a checklist for everybody. If you're planning an international trip, please check your passports early and make sure they don't need to be renewed. If they do, please get your renewal forms in early. Again, if there is a checklist that I want to encourage everyone to do, if you're planning an international trip, please check your passports months ahead of time. Right? We know that it takes months right now, there's a backlog of months. Another key reminder, most countries will not permit a traveler to enter their country unless the passport is set to expire at least 6 months after the final day of travel. So the golden rule with your passport should have at least 6 months left on it. So if you're home and you think you're planning a trip coming up, check to see if there's 6 months on it, at least for when your trip's going to be, and also make sure you leave yourself, if you can, at least 4 months to be able to go to a post office, to go to your clerk, to go to a library or apply. You also can go to your regional center. As I said, unfortunately right now, for the next 3 weeks, we've been told in a briefing by the National Passport Center that there are no, for the next 3 weeks, same-day appointments, right? But if you can go to a regional passport center, if it's beyond 3 weeks, please call my office, call me, and we'll see if we'll call ahead and see what we can work out. The bottom line is we're here for you, we're here to fight to make sure you can go on your trip. We want to make sure you can see your loved ones, and you can go on that trip you've been waiting for, see your family members. If you're having any trouble or if you're facing an emergency, you can call my office, 201-389-1100, or reach out at gottheimer.house.gov. We will help you through the process. But please, try to plan ahead as far as you can. These are not normal times with passport processing. We know how much frustration it can lead to. We want to do everything we can to make sure you can get to where you want to get to internationally. Please be safe, be healthy, and God bless our great country. I know our best days are ahead of us if we work together. Thanks so much.
Congressman Gottheimer?
Can I get any questions from the press?
I have something off topic.
Only questions for the press.
No problem.
Well, I'm a concerned citizen. I have a right to ask him questions.
Helena, I give you my card.
You guys good?
No, I have a right to ask him
Thanks so
questions.
much.
Today.
This
Yeah, you can do off topic.
Congressman Gottheimer, you're a supporter of Black Lives Matter, right? Do you still support him because they support the Cuban government cracking down on Cuban protesters?
So we're only taking calls from official
No.
press.
He's a public official.
You can call our office. We're happy to address it, sir.
Congressman Gottheimer, you support Black Lives Matter, right? Right? You support them. Do you support them supporting the Cuban Communist government cracking down on Cuban protesters? Congressman Gottheimer.
Hey,
Who do you work for?
it's okay to ask that question, but as a reference to my colleague, I'm a New Jersey news reporter.
You have no right to
No,
question.
I'm just asking. I'm not questioning you. I'm
No,
asking.
he doesn't want to ask me questions. You're protecting him.
Very clearly.
Congressman Gottheimer,
Listen.
you support Black
Listen.
Lives Matter.
She's talking to somebody else right now. Can you just
No.
wait till he's done?
Just hold on.
No, he doesn't want to answer my question.
Well,
She says I can't answer
He's
questions from him.
interviewing somebody else. Just let
No,
him do what he's
he doesn't
doing.
want to take questions from the public.
He's doing.
You're interrupting.
Be right to
No.
my office, I'll get back to you.
You could answer my question real quick.
He's doing another.
You're a congressman.
Does that work, dude?
You support Black Lives Matter. They support the Cuban government, communist government, suppressing Cuban protesters. I didn't touch you. Congressman Gottheimer, could you answer that question, please? Do you support Black Lives Matter supporting the communist Cuban government cracking down on free
One of the biggest-
protesters?
One of the biggest issues.
Congressman Gottheimer. Congressman Gottheimer, do you support Black Lives Matter now because they support the communist Cuban government
So one of the biggest challenges
cracking down on Cuban free protesters?
$1,000 new tax that New York wants to levy on Jersey drivers, right? For taking the GW Bridge and going to New York City, and they've done New York has done zero outreach to New Jersey, had no contact with New Jersey, talked about it, and yet for so many people in New Jersey who have no option, no public transit option, all they can do is actually drive into New York every single morning. A nurse, somebody, a taxi driver, somebody who's just trying to make ends meet, and they already spend $4,000 a year on tolls, $60 a day. New York now wants to whack Jersey drivers with an additional $14 a day congestion tax. It's unacceptable. So we're working with two things. One, we're working with the New Jersey State Legislature to actually...
Congressman Gottheimer, do you support Black Lives Matter support of the communist Cuban government cracking down on Cuban free protesters? You can't answer the question, Congressman?
There are two things we can do. One, we've actually introduced...
Why can't he answer the question?
Because he's speaking with someone else, sir.
Oh, well, the press is more important than his
wants to go ahead
constituents.
and whack Jersey drivers after the MTA's already received
Absolutely not.
$16 billion.
Oh, so I'm not important, right?
No, I didn't. I said the press is not important. They're more important than constituents.
Yeah, well, it seems like it. He can't answer a simple question. It's not too complicated.
Immediately pull back and say to New York, we're not going to give you any more federal resources. So I think this legislation to cut off their federal resources. If they want to whack the Jersey drivers after years of a cooperative relationship with the Port Authority, the new tax on Jersey drivers, we're going to take away their federal resources. If we want to act in a cooperative way, obviously we would consider it. The second thing, of course, that we're focused on is working with the New Jersey State Legislature to say, what options can we do? If you're a New York driver and you want to whack New Jersey drivers, can we say, New York drivers, you want to come over the bridge and go back home? We're going to actually have a new sales tax on New York drivers or out-of-state drivers, so that they can also, we get resources together.
You're bullying me. You're in my way.
Costs for New Jersey drivers.
What's your name, miss?
For the mayor?
What's your
I've asked
name?
the mayor, and I've written the mayor a
Miss,
letter.
what's your name?
I'll make sure you get
You're
the-
bullying me.
I'll make sure you get a
Sir, please take the camera out of my face.
today. So I just wrote to the mayor-elect, the potential mayor, one who just won the primary, to say, because he just talked about this, to please reconsider this. If you want to get New York's economy going again, right, the best thing to do is get Jersey drivers and all these Jersey commuters back into New York, back into their office buildings, right, so we can get people back to work. If you're going to whack people with an additional $3,000 to $4,000 a year of a new congestion tax, that's not the way to get people back into New York City. So I'd urge the mayor, I'd say, please reconsider this tax, which is going to hit nurses and hardworking families. It's already $30 a day just to commute into New York is unacceptable. That doesn't include parking, it doesn't include the cost of the car, it doesn't include gas. So to me, I think we should all reconsider this. Let's sit at the table and fix this problem together, just like we do with the Port Authority. Let's work together. Thanks, man.
Congressman Gottheimer, do you support Black Lives Matter? Congressman Gottheimer, do you support Black Lives Matter? They support the Cuban Communist government cracking down on Cubans that want to be free from Cuba, communist government. Will you answer the question, Congressman Gottheimer? I guess you support the communist Cuban government, I guess, right?
Thanks so much.
You support the crackdown on free Cubans protesting for their right to be free from the communist Cuban government. Congressman Gottheimer, will you answer the question? It's a simple one.
Thank you very much.
You can't answer the question?
Thank you so much.
Congressman Gottheimer, could you answer the question? Could you answer the question?
Hey, how are you, man? Thanks so much for your service, sir. Thanks for your service.
What? Congressman Gottheimer, could you answer a simple little question? You're running away, Congressman. You're running away from a constituent. Congressman, could you answer the question? You don't want to answer the question. I guess you support the communist Cuban government, right?
Sir, just let him get in the car. Thank you.